What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. You guys know the drill. Right now, mega specials at LiveGoReTouch.com. First of all, the Cortex stack still 30% off. Just use the coupon code 30, LiveGoReTouch.com. It takes a good chunk of change off the price of the Cortex stack. Better deal is the Cortex double stack that gets you 2 bottles of Cortex, but each are $24. Cheapest it's ever been. Do that at LiveGoReTouch.com. No coupon code for the double stack. Listen, if you're new to Nootropics, you guys know the deal. You have to just watch Nootropics Ground Zero. It's a video course that I created to show you the ropes, to take you from brand new to the level where you actually know what you're doing and you get results from Nootropics. That's a video course, $55 even, LiveGoReTouch.com. If you're in for 2-3 years, but need to ascend to the master class, that's defined as the 6-year mark. And people just do different things, stack differently, get better results at the 6-year mark. Get the Nootropics master class. That's what that video course is intended to do. $55, no coupon codes, LiveGoReTouch.com. If you're a guy that needs to raise tests, VTP, Powerful Test Raising Protocol. And then look, if you're a business person that's serious about revenue, that's serious about brain performance, that's serious about getting the most possible ROI for your time, you have to improve your brain function, and you can do it in so many ways. And usually there's things that are preventing your brain from functioning well. When you clear them up and fix it, then you use nootropics and research chemicals to really fully optimize cognition. You end up in a place where your brain just functions at hyperspeed, and it's awesome. Either the 1 month, the 3.5 month, or the 6 month intensive. Those biohacking, hands-on, results-driven consulting programs are targeted to help you do that, where you work with me daily to achieve that outcome. The 3.5 month or better, got the 6 apply to PSSD as well. If there's any question about which of those packages apply to you, please email me at ryan@livegoretex.com. Let's get on a call, let's talk about it, and let's get it done. Okay, so I want to discuss 3 neurotransmitters and a periodic, sort of maintenance uptake functionality strategy. It's something I've been focused on for about a year, and something that is very relevant to my research and work right now, having been recruited by men to solve PSSD. So, neurotransmitters, right? What we take nootropics for is to just boost the quantities and the function of neurotransmitters, and that's awesome. If you've got a bunch of extracellular dopamine, you're a lot more motivated, right? If you can induce that temporary state, you take modafinil, and then you're also simultaneously improving the function of orexin neurons. Your productivity goes through the roof. You get more done in 12 hours than you have in 5 days. It's insane. Very useful. If you're fostering the extra release of acetylcholine via aracetam, incredibly useful for mental processing, memory, for some people, general focus. If you are raising concentrations of serotonin, right, for brief periods, it can be pretty good for a lot of different things, and mostly just kind of keeping you in a calm, chill state. Serotonin is not exclusively the enemy all the time anyway, only when it accumulates in the wrong places at the wrong quantities. But what people need to keep in mind, and the thing I would just have you think about, I'm going to give you 3 examples in taking nootropics, is periodically enhancing the uptake of those neurotransmitters and keeping the brain trained to properly uptake, use, and recycle those neurotransmitters. Okay, so on the acetylcholine side, a lot of us that are just hard charging productive people use racetams to speed up processing and speed up memory, and in some cases speed up focus and speed up verbal fluency, and that's really awesome. But if you're a heavy racetam user, one of the things that you might want to think about over the course of a 30-day period where you're heavily using racetams is to lay off of the aniracetam or the oxyracetam for a couple days and train the brain to properly take choline and shuttle it into cells. Uptake. In the acetylcholine system, that's called high affinity choline uptake. And there's one compound in the reservoir compounds that we talk about that fosters the function of high affinity choline uptake, and that's coluracetam. So if you're a heavy racetam user, as a strategy over the course of a 30-day period where you're on and off taking racetams, but pretty heavily, I want to cycle off of the racetams that are forcing the use of acetylcholine and cycle onto coluracetam to foster the uptake of choline in your brain. Very critical to teach the neurotransmitter systems to uptake and properly recycle. In fact, when it gets way too out of line with reuptake inhibitors typically, but sometimes constant use of nootropics, then there's this thing called, it's essentially reuptake inhibitor monoamine depletion theory, but it applies outside of the scope of reuptake inhibitors, that ultimately you will, if you're not careful about dietary precursors, deplete pools of neurotransmitters, and that is not good. Fostering the proper recycling tries to prevent that as a maintenance strategy. On the dopamine side, we talked about this recently, and it's an incredible compound. A compound people should be definitely careful with because it also has like immune function aspects of it. That's luteolin. But on the dopamine side, if you're somebody that takes a lot of dopamine-centered compounds that are just like fostering the extra release of dopamine, you want to be careful, and you want to periodically, over the course of, let's say, a 30-day period, if you're heavily using dopaminergic compounds like phenylalanine or modafinil, or anything else that like fosters the release of dopamine, like Cmax, you want to periodically throw in some doses of luteolin. You might do, like, if you know, on a 30-day period, if you're taking dopamine-centered compounds 4 days a week, you might want to take like 2 days in that 7-day period and just take luteolin at like 200 milligrams. Luteolin fosters the function of DAT. That's the dopamine transporter. And you want the transporters to know how to store a neurotransmitter presynaptically for later use, or decide if it wants to degrade it. Usually, if you're somewhat depleting tissue levels of a neurotransmitter, because you're using a lot of it, the uptake dynamic and the storage of the neurotransmitter will get used to release later. It's going to save some of it because it sort of understands. The brain is super smart in its innate built-in system. So if you're taking dopaminergics, periodically bring in luteolin at a couple hundred milligrams to continue fostering the proper uptake of dopamine. It's almost like a reset strategy. On the serotonin side, this is something that not a lot of people know about. Bacopa. It's critically important for people to, if they're taking nootropics that modify serotonin in some way, and a lot of nootropics modify serotonin in some way, like forcing the extra release of serotonin, binding to serotonin receptors, causing you to fire a bunch of serotonin. It is important to maintenance the serotonergic system with uptake enhancement, and you would do that by ensuring that the conversion enzymes function correctly, tryptophan hydroxylase namely, but also by fostering the function of SERT. The SERT is such a critical element in proper serotonin metabolism and usage. Bacopa upregulates the function of SERT over time. You know, everybody says like Bacopa you got to take for a while, and you do and should. Bacopa is an incredible compound. In fact, I've cycled on it recently. I take it every day. 500 milligrams Bacopa doesn't do anything noticeably for me. I'm just fostering the function of SERT, and then also helping dendritic growth projection, which is really awesome. And then mildly affecting acetylcholine, but it's an incredible compound. But over the course of a 30-day period that you're taking compounds that might raise serotonin or might foster the extra use of serotonin, you want to be taking a break and phasing in Bacopa so that you can foster the function of the SERT. Now, there's a lot of other things that foster the function of the transporters and then uptake, but those are just three for the major monoamine neurotransmitters that we like to talk about. Why is this important? What I've come to learn is that both, obviously on the reuptake inhibitor side, but on the hardcore dopamine agonist side, like drugs, but also nootropics, which act as agonists in so many different neurotransmitters and act to force the release of neurotransmitters, that if you're not conscious of fostering proper uptake and recycling and keeping that system maintenance so that it knows what to do, you can run into what seems to be neurotransmitter depletion situations. And you can definitely run into downregulated receptor sites. And that's the thing we want to avoid. I'm going on about 13 years in taking nootropics and fussing with research chemicals and everything out there known to man, with the exception of SARMs. I never got into SARMs. I don't think I'm ever going to get into SARMs. And this is the thing that at this level, I'm understanding is like really, really critically important. And focusing on the proper reuptake of neurotransmitters, the proper usage of neurotransmitters, and then maintenancing receptor sites has been a complete game changer for me. I almost hit a stalling point at like 11 and a half years of taking nootropics. And then I came to understand this. And it's like, it's all enlivened all over again. I mean, I've still been taking nootropics all the time, but I would wonder like why I would take a month and just do heavy racetam usage. And then through that month, at some point, the racetam or racetams would become a little less effective. And then after that, I'd be in sort of a phase when I stopped taking the racetams where I would have to work a little bit to just kind of get my brain to function normally at baseline thereafter. Digging deeper into what was happening, it was just that I needed to foster uptake. And then maintenancing uptake throughout the process never happened again. And I'm so hot on it. It's super exciting and interesting to me. And I think people just need to focus on that. Foster reuptake, foster proper usage, foster proper recycling, just as an added maintenance strategy. Because in the end, what we hope to achieve with taking nootropics in the interest of productivity and getting things done and having a good brain is for the next 40 years or 50 years, however long you're going to be alive, right? Maybe we'll stop when we're 80. Who knows? Maybe we won't. Ray Kurzweil hasn't. We want to optimize our brains. We want to stave off neurodegeneration. We want to make our brains function really well. And in that entire system, uptake is a proper part of that. I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't ramble for too long. I hope you guys aren't confused about what I said. Comment if you have any questions. Thanks so much for listening. Guys, remember, Cortex Stack, 30% off livecortex.com. Better deal, Cortex Double Stack, $24 a bottle. Get it at livecortex.com. No coupon codes. If you're new to nootropics, Nootropics Ground Zero, that's where you have to start. If you are in a couple years but need to really ascend quickly on using nootropics and getting better results, get the Nootropics Masterclass. That's $55. Both those courses $55 right now. Going back to the regular prices soon. No coupon codes. If you're a guy that needs race test, VTP. And if you are a business person that needs hardcore mental optimization, where we really work on everything. Like if you have energy baseline issues, we fix the energy baseline issues first, because that's got to happen for you to respond properly to nootropics. And then using nootropics and research chemicals to just really amplify cognitive performance to get targeted shit done. The stuff you have to get done, the stuff you live for, either the 1 month intensive, the 3.5 month intensive, or the 6 month intensive. These are my life. I spend so much time doing these with people, and it's the funnest thing ever because I get to take somebody that is at an okay baseline or a subpar baseline that needs mental performance and needs to get stuff done and fully optimize the energy dynamic, the sleep dynamic, the neurotransmitter function dynamic, that whole situation, so that people end up on the other side functioning incredibly mentally. Your brain is the most important tool you could ever have. Let's get it done and optimize it. 1 month, 3.5 months, 6 month intensive. Please get those at livecortex.com. Is there any question about what applies to you? Email me, Ryan at livecortex.com. Let's get on a call about it and chat about it. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.